here to get Biggie's movie reviews. He's done a terrific job all week. And today he has 2 more movies for us. We had to do a lot this week because we're off tomorrow. This is our Friday. Evil Dead 2, 1987 will be Biggie's first review, and we have a clip.
There's something out there. It lives out in those woods. In the dark. Something that's come back from the dead.
Well, I haven't seen this, but I like the sound of that. There's a clip for you. What are your thoughts, Biggie?
Did you see Evil Dead?
I don't know that I've seen Evil Dead.
I feel like you're missing out on these.
Yeah?
These to me are horror classics. Chris Demm, have you seen them?
I've seen Evil Dead 1, and I mean, I know that there's tons and tons of hype around these movies in the Star.
Yes.
And I didn't love it maybe the way some people did, Evil Dead.
Is it a zombie picture?
No.
Mm-hmm.
It's more, okay, so Evil Dead is one picture. This is a weird dichotomy here. Evil Dead 2, is it a sequel? Is it a whole different movie? You argue amongst yourselves.
All right.
It kind of is, it has the same character, but almost a different story. And it was directed by Sam Raimi, and he did Evil Dead. The whole reason Evil Dead 2 was made was because Stephen King loved Evil Dead. And he went to producer Dino De Laurentiis and said, you should put up this money for Evil Dead 2.
If he liked it that much.
Yes. Now, here's some kind of a fun legal story in. Evil Dead 2, the idea was for it to take place in the Middle Ages. Dino De Laurentiis said, I want something closer to the original.
Right.
So they did that, but at the end of the movie, Ash, the main character, is kind of transported to the Middle Ages, where they then made a movie called Army of Darkness with Bruce Campbell as well.
Oh, same.
And that same character.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Evil Dead 2, I personally, there's arguments online, think is better than Evil Dead.
Oh, really? Okay.
And a lot of people do. It actually has a higher IMDb score.
Okay.
So it's basically cabin, demons, look with the devil. They read something that calls the demons to life. Big thing is the special effects and the violence.
And they're good?
And the blood. They're great.
Okay.
I mean, this is old school kind of great. You've probably seen, a little spoiler here, he gets a chainsaw arm.
Oh, his arm is a chainsaw. I've seen that character.
His hand becomes possessed and goes after him. And he puts on a chainsaw.
Okay.
Well, his girlfriend helps him put on the chainsaw.
All right. Okay. It is, yeah.
But it's basically kind of, and that's the argument is, I think it's a whole different movie, even though it's got the same character. It's almost like a remake of the first one.
Okay.
So some factoids about this film. The smoke from the chainsaw is actually tobacco smoke. Director Sam Raimi rigged tubing to the back of the chainsaw, and off camera he would blow cigarette smoke through the tube.
All right. Yes.
They can't afford a fog machine.
Right. Really?
No, I guess
Low
not.
budget.
Just give the crew some Pall Malls.
Now, he died of lung cancer, but other than that, it was worth it.
Yeah.
Everybody blow. Now.
Let's go.
Action.
But I don't smoke. You have to.
You
for
have
this
to.
movie.
But you couldn't see the tube.
We only want a smoker for this movie.
Now,
yes.
This has changed a lot too. The actors, when they were possessed, they'd have to wear like these almost like contacts that would blind them, so they'd be completely blind during the scene. They just memorized where they had to go.
Oh, really?
Around the set.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's also a large demonic head that Ash battles in the climax of the movie, and so this was actually filmed in Detroit and North Carolina, a town in North Carolina called Wadesboro.
Oh, yes. I know
It was
Wadesboro.
filmed through the town. Well, he battles this demonic head, and they didn't. It was so large they couldn't like take it back. They basically left it in Woodsboro instead of taking it back to California.
So there's a large demonic head in Wadesboro, North Carolina?
Well, where they left it, they went back and disappeared. Was gone.
Oh, somebody took the large demonic head.
So nobody knew where it was for a number of years. And then eventually it was found in a haunted house right outside Wadesboro.
Oh, they worked it into the haunted house. Yeah, that makes sense.
And when I say that they filmed in Wadesboro and around the town, most of the filming was actually done in the junior high school.
So, so they, if this movie was popular enough, could do the same thing Friday the 13th.
sleepaway camp.
They could do sleepaway camp at the junior high.
Evil Dead camp.
Okay. How many stars, or excuse me, how many pumpkins do you give Evil
I think
Dead
this
to?
is a horror classic.
Yeah.
I will say that it's also, to me, a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he's got a chainsaw arm.
Right.
So all those things combined, I give this a solid 8.
Wow.
Solid 8.
All right.
8 for Evil Dead 2.
Yes, I'm really shocked you have not seen these, Chris Kelly. BB Shea, have you seen them?
I've heard of them. I know there's like a big cult classic surrounding them. But I've never
Definitely.
seen them. No.
Definitely.
I was just so into slashers, so into Jason and Michael Myers.
Yeah, this is different. This is, more reading a cursed book and demons and,
I'm more into that now. I wasn't then. Back in the day, I was all about the teen mutilation.
Yeah.
Well, there's definitely, there's mutilation in this. I mean, there's some gross scenes.
Yeah.
But not really what you're looking for.
Well, I like that's a style I might go back to now. All right, now he's doing 2 movies today. The next is Friday the 13th, but it is not the original from 1980. It is a rebooted Friday the 13th that hit theaters in 2009. We have a clip.
Hey, I'm not from around here, but I'm looking for my sister. She's gone missing. Have you seen her?
She ain't missing. She's dead.
Oh, yeah. Better believe she's dead. I'll tell you this. Well, you give your review. I don't want to step on your toes. I've seen this film. Go ahead.
I saw it in the theater when it came out.
As did I.
All right.
Toes.
Sorry.
I don't think I was here, but we didn't know each other well enough to probably go together, and I probably didn't want to.
I had an edible. All right. Full disclosure. Full disclosure.
Okay.
I was on an edible
Back
when
then,
I
you
saw
had to
it.
make your own.
Yeah. Actually, I don't think I had an edible. I think I...
That was a Mary Jane.
Oh,
Sorry.
fashioned.
You've old-fashioned that one.
I think in the theater parking lot, parked way away
Just
from
spark.
Yeah.
I probably walked past you and said, "Hey, somebody's getting high in the parking lot."
Look at these burnouts.
Middle-aged guy.
Look at these burnout teens.
Is that a minivan? Yes.
Yeah, those aren't teens.
Okay.
Now,
what did you think of Friday
the
13th?
argument applies to this movie as well, and I did not plan this.
Yeah.
Is this a sequel?
Mm-hmm.
Is this a remake?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a whole new movie?
I found it to be a remake of the original.
Well,
Wouldn't you
that's
think?
where we get into it.
Mm.
I mentioned this earlier. The original screenwriter of the original Friday the 13th said the script was written in such a way that it could be deemed a sequel.
So he would
Instead
get
of
more
a
money.
remake.
He'd get more money.
If it's a sequel, he gets more money.
Right.
Oh.
The
Yeah.
studio said, no.
It's a reboot.
This is a remake and a reboot. And he said, no, it's not. And to me, it's not.
You think it's a sequel?
I think of it as a sequel because
Well,
there's no origin story here. We know, in fact, they play on the fact that you know the origin story.
Yeah, but just because you know the origin, like I would not consider. Well, I'm wrong about that. I was going to say I wouldn't consider the new Jamie Lee Curtis movies a sequel, but I would consider those sequels.
Yeah.
But this was like. I felt like it was going back in time. I thought it just remade it for a new audience.
No,
honestly.
this
because
was-
they called it Friday the 13th.
Yeah,
you know?
no, this was basically, they tell the story of the 1980 killings.
Yes.
And then
in about 5 minutes, they
yes,
tell that. Yeah.
exactly. In fact, this is a fun fact. It has one of the longest, what do you call it, prologues
Yeah.
in movie history because you don't see the title cards till 25 minutes into the movie.
That's good. I like the way
Wow.
the first 25 minutes to me is the best thing of the movie. They set
Yes.
up what's going to happen, and it's really good. And I was all like on the edge of my seat. Now I was okay. I was
Altered.
I was impaired.
Yeah.
I was impaired, but I was focused on that screen.
Where are the letters?
yeah.
I haven't seen the letters. Are we in the right movie?
I turned to my friend and I said, "Oh my God!" When the movie started, I thought it was ending. You know, because the letters
walk
came,
in on the-
the letters came up. You know, and I
this the
thought,
movie
"Oh, it's
before?"
over." I mean, it's 25 minutes.
I think we're in fool's gold.
We're really early, man. Really early.
But I told him this is awesome. This is great. But it went downhill from there in my mind. Go
Well,
ahead.
that's just it. To me, it's not a remake because it quickly says, hey, it gives you almost like a history of the camp where these
yes,
kids are.
You're right.
And they're like, hey, oh, this is that camp where that guy's mom. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing, and also when they get there, Jason already kills them all.
Yeah, Jason's been,
Yeah,
you're right.
he's there. He's living at
Yeah.
the campsite. It's one of those where the locals know.
Where does he live?
Jason, now listen.
He's got a little place.
He got a nice little place out in the woods.
Yeah.
If you go to,
Mid-century modern?
yeah.
Over there near the point.
He's got the running water.
Well, I don't know about that.
Lake
Does he just
View.
make
Yeah.
toilet in the woods?
He makes toilet in the woods. He's got a little shack. Now, his mom's head is on display.
Yes.
Aw.
in the guest room.
That's sweet.
Mama's boy.
The ultimate.
Yeah.
The ultimate mama's boy
Well,
is Jason.
And
That's
you know,
true.
in the movie, which they did this on purpose, he wears a burlap sack and the hockey
and the
mask.
hockey mask.
So this is where I guess people could argue, well, is it a remake?
Yeah.
He finds the hockey mask.
Right. How?
He
just
kills
fi-
a guy.
with a
And
hockey mask.
He kills a guy who's in an attic.
Yeah.
And there's the hockey mask.
That's right.
So he takes off, basically when he's fighting him, the burlap sack comes off, and he kills the guy, and then he puts on the hockey mask.
You know, in part 2 in 1981, he wears a pillowcase over his head. He kills a couple having sex with an arrow through the back.
Does he get holes in it, or does he just kind of do it
He
blindly?
cuts holes in it, but barely. It's like one hole. He can barely see.
Hold still.
Yeah.
I can't
Well, it's hard to make them.
Great scene of death. He has
run to his right. He can't see you.
He's got this big javelin spear thing, and a couple, teenagers are like 20. They're having sex, and he gets both of them, and he takes the pillowcase right off the bed and clocks it over his head.
Yeah.
Well, we assume that later he's wearing the pillowcase.
Yeah.
But then the hockey mask comes in part 3. That's where it
Exactly.
comes from. Okay. Yes.
This is another reason I think of it as more of they didn't want it to be a sequel because the star, when Adrienne King was supposed to be,
Yeah.
have a cameo in the movie.
She's the star of the very original.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they called and said, "Yep, come on, we want you as a cameo." And then a little bit later, they said, a few days later, they called her back. They said, "Never mind."
Oh, because they were trying to make it.
Yeah, because again, everything for them was trying to make it where they did not have to pay
Yeah.
the creator as much money.
Too
And
bad.
He did sue.
Yeah. Well, too bad because she's she was a great final girl. She was the original final girl.
Now, I will tell you this: the movie itself, I enjoyed the first 25 minutes.
Yep.
Thought, here we go.
Yep.
And then it becomes just sludge.
Too cliche.
Yeah.
It's like not only do they smoke joints, they have joints like they're huge. And they're
Yeah.
we're getting
gross.
Well,
so gross. It's like, come on.
Childish.
It's childish. It's like, come on. In the original, yeah, let's smoke a little Mary Jane. Fine.
Sure.
But in the new one, they're like, ooh, let's get high. Come on. It's like Revenge of the Nerds or something. It's like, come on, you just don't do that. They're smoking tampons. It's awful. It's awful.
Joints the size of hot dogs.
Yeah, it just I didn't appreciate it. I turned to my friends and said, that's not
This is
realistic.
farcical.
I can't take this serious.
It's farcical, exactly.
And I'm high as a kite.
How many pumpkins did you give it?
Well, I was going to say there's one other
Oh,
little
please. Sure.
one last tidbit which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
Michael Bay was the producer,
Oh,
the big director.
big
He produced
action
the
guy.
movie.
Yeah.
Apparently, he knew nothing about it and didn't check in on it because he walked out of the premiere saying the movie featured too much sex.
Oh, please. But he's right. In the original Friday the 13th, they'll have one tasteful sex scene.
Yeah,
Okay. They'll have a tasteful sex. Always one. And there's some sex. And it's like, okay, yeah. Kevin Bacon is in the very first one and the sex scene. Now they die immediately after. But in this one, they were like, "Oh, let's get high and let's go have sex." It was so like in your face. It was too much. It was
There was
just
one girl
too
who
blatant.
wakeboarded
gilding the lily.
topless.
Yeah, they gilded the lily.
One girl wakeboarded topless, which is dangerous.
of course.
Look at BB Shea's face.
Gilded the lily.
Oh yeah, they gilded the lily. Oh, they gilded
Never
the
heard that one before.
No, they gilded the lily on that.
It's a 19th century
yeah,
term.
he's
Oh,
right.
does it?
He's right.
But to me,
Work
this,
it into your rap. There's a challenge. That's a challenge for you. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
only 4 pumpkins.
Agreed.
And those 4 for the first 25 minutes, which seemed intriguing.
That
and then
was
it
good.
just
That was really
it just
good.
becomes sludge and just it
Yeah.
drags. And to me, if an hour and a half movie feels long, that's a bad
Yes.
sign.
And the first 25 minutes are great. And then the words come up. You're like, ugh. And then it's just,
Yeah.
it's downhill.
Well, because you don't realize, you think in the first 25 minutes, you're like, oh, these are the main characters.
Yeah.
No, he dispatches them real
immediately.
quick. Yeah.
And see a little Mom Voorhees and all that. Yeah.
Is it an obvious setup for sequels of this movie?
Well,
They cannot.
They can't do it because the two people who one person has the rights to Friday the 13th and
Right.
and the other person has the rights to like Jason and the mask,
character.
the character. So they're fighting, and since 2009, there's been nothing on the so it's losing its popularity because they haven't been able to do anything. There's a fight in court over who owns it.
Oh, man, I bet there's some heated discussions around the campfire tomorrow night.
You better believe I'll be coming with my opinions on this thing. I just want these guys to get together on this thing.
All you got to do, you can't we all get along speech?
Yes, I will. I'll stand. And now listen, I will have had an edible, but I'll stand and I'll say,
Please, please, please,
get along.
for the love of all that is holy, do not compare this war to Hamas
Oh
versus
God,
Israel.
no, I can't. No, don't let me do that. No, I can't. I will not do that.
Yeah, they can do it?
No,
The producers can do it.
No,
Israel can
no,
do it.
I won't do it. I won't. I can't do that.
Don't even do it.
Ukraine can do it, man.
When I go into the dispensary, I have to have something that won't alter me that much.
No.
I can't do that. All right.
I need a
Tremendous
current
review.
event filter.
Yes. Tremendous reviews.